You are listening to 100.9 FM WXIR in Rochester, New York.
Extreme Independent Radio.
Worldwide, you can find us online at 1009wxir.com.
Infiltrate Radio.
All right, welcome to Infiltrate Radio. Today is July 19th, 2018, and this is episode number, I don't even know, I've lost count at this point. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Sarah.
And we're bringing you new music, in-studio guests, and performances, and just overall making your Thursday evening just that much better. Isn't that right, Sarah?
Yes.
All right, and today on the show, we've got a couple of guests who we've known for quite a while, right? You'd say? So,
absolutely.
So Christopher and Joanna, Jaouen, one of which is my brother, and the other of which is my sister-in-law, and now also your sister-in-law and
brother-in-law.
And brother-in-law, right? Both
we are family.
So Chris is a master, has a master's in mathematics, and a musician, and something about fencing he used to do. And then there is Joanna, who's a licensed massage therapist, published author. She's done a lot. So we're going to go ahead and bring them in the studio here, or over the phone, I should say. This is our first remote interview. So give us just a second, listen to some music, and we'll bring them right back in.
Infiltrate Radio.
All right, so Joanna and Chris, can you still hear me?
Yep.
All right, so welcome to Infiltrate Radio.
Thanks for having us.
We appreciate you guys being our guinea pigs for this remote, the first remote episode. And this is basically the reason I wanted to do this with you guys, is because if I screw it up, I don't think you guys are gonna
We're very forgiving.
Boycott us.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Because there's some individuals around the world that wanted to be a part of the show, and I'm like, well, I don't even know how to do that. So that's hence the spawn of this this conversation here.
Pigs,
yeah.
always.
So I appreciate it, Joe.
Well, if you mess this up, I won't ever forgive you, though.
I appreciate that, Chris.
That is
I appreciate
tough.
that. So I
Striking
did.
hard right out the bat.
Yeah, I know you guys have, and at least Chris, you've heard the show. And let me just introduce you guys. So we have on the show here Chris and Joanna, Jaouen, and you're listening to 100.9 WXIR Extreme Independent Radio here in Rochester, New York. So one of the things I ask of, or when people come into the studio, we usually have some sort of a drink or a beverage. Sometimes it's gin, sometimes it's whiskey, occasionally we have cider, sometimes we have food,
all sorts of
wine,
stuff.
etc. So I did ask an ask of you guys, and Chris, did you happen to
take
get
some
something
shots.
to drink?
I do actually. I have a couple things in the fridge. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I can run and get something.
Why don't you go ahead and grab that? And you said you were going to get something interesting, right?
I walked around the supermarket and just looked for something that I never tried before that I thought sounded interesting. So I got a couple of things.
Awesome. Awesome.
So let me go. I'll go grab something right now.
All right, great.
And
I'm going to keep talking in this while you go.
Joanna will keep you company.
Okay. All right. So, Joanna, you are a licensed massage therapist.
I rub them.
And yeah, one of the benefits is I know we used to live together in an apartment. Was back in the day, having a licensed massage therapist in the apartment was fantastic, Joanna, I have to say.
Yeah, you owe me for all those free massages.
That's
do.
True.
I hope you're keeping
Send him a bill.
I've got a tally.
An
Send him a
invoice
bill.
somewhere.
Repayment agreements.
I didn't get the first one, so if you could resend or CC in my accountant.
No, I'll be sending you a full document. Yeah.
A full,
It's going to be
an itemized invoice for it.
So how long have you been a massage therapist now?
I got my license in 2002, so that's 16 years.
Wow.
It's crazy.
What about you teaching other people how to do massage? Have you ever thought about that?
Well, to get into teaching a class, you would have to have your bachelor's, and I don't even have one of those.
In order to teach other people how to do massage therapy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In order to be a teacher in a massage school, like one that gives out licenses, you have to have at least a bachelor's. Doesn't really matter what it's in, but it just has to be there. And then Oh, here's Chris.
Yeah, and if I could ask you to just move the microphone a little bit closer whenever each of you guys are talking. That would be,
Really? I had that right on top of me.
You're a little low, but so yeah, that's a good question too. I wanted to know what prompted you to get into massage therapy, because it's a pretty specific thing. Like in my point of view, potentially touching people as a profession could be, off-putting to some people. Like, what made you decide to get into that? I know, obviously, there's more to it than you're not just poking people, right? Or is that part of your massage? Okay.
That's major, yeah.
But like, what prompted you to get into it in the first place?
Oh, I don't know. I don't really have any great story about that. When people ask, I'm like, I don't know. I like working with people one-on-one. I always did like tutoring and stuff like that. So I went to an open house one day for the school that was close to me that had a good part-time program, and it was like, hey, this looks cool, try it. And then I tried a little bit, and I was like, this is cool, I like this, and just went straight into it. I didn't have any. I don't think I ever even received a massage before I got to massage school.
Really?
Yeah. Or I was never one of those people like hanging out with friends like, hey, let me give you a massage. Like, I was never really like that until I went to school, and then
so
I started.
You said an open house, so there was just a random like
at
a
the
sign in front. Oh, and at the school. So
at the massage school, yeah.
Where was the school? Is it in New York?
It's in New York. Yeah.
In New York. So, so you were just passing by, or you were in school there and you saw the actual school?
No. I was actually online. I was like looking up things online, and I just found this random thing. It was like open house, come on Saturday, that kind of thing. So that was it.
Yeah. So that's kind of how you got into it. So you started going to school for it. What made you decide to? Because now it's pretty much it is your career, right? I mean, that's what you're doing.
That's what I do for money mostly.
Full time. So like, how did it transition? Because some people would maybe do that as, all right, I'm going to do it as a part-time thing, and I'll work as I don't know.
Yeah.
In an office or whatever. Like, how did that become your full-time thing? Was it even an option, or you just liked it so much while you were doing it that?
I've always had a lot of different kinds of jobs. Like, there's so many different things you could do with massage. I've worked in the same place for like 15 years, but on the side, I'm always doing like other kind of projects. And I think most massage therapists have at least like 2 or 3 different places where they get their money from. Like, they don't, it's not a lot of people that have like a full-time job with benefits and a pension and, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So they have to have like a little more hustle. And so I have a couple of different, like, I got people, I go to their house and I massage them there, and I have other, like, there's always other things going on.
Yeah, I think it definitely takes a little bit of, like you said, hustle. I think that takes a certain type of personality too to go out there.
Yeah, I can't hustle, man. I try to hustle. I'm like,
it doesn't.
Hey, it's
I think Joanna is such a likable person. She doesn't have to hustle. She just.
Oh,
it just
God.
Business just come.
Yeah. That's
Here we go. I paid him off.
So to those just tuning in here, we got Joanna and Christopher Jaouen, and you're listening to 100.9 WXIR Extreme Independent Radio. And Chris, you're back.
I am back.
What did you bring out of the fridge?
Yeah. So
okay, the first thing I got here that I thought sounded interesting. It's UFO is the name of the beer company, I guess.
Okay.
And a couple things I found interesting about it was it's owned by the employees, the company.
Huh. So it's like
which I thought was really cool. And then also the name UFO sort of caught my interest because I'm obsessed with science fiction and stuff.
And we'll get
not that this has anything to do with aliens, but
yeah. Well, we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, I have many questions about that, actually.
Yeah, maybe I should look. If I look deeper, maybe the rabbit hole goes deeper than I think.
Maybe once you start drinking it, that's when they come to.
That's when you start seeing aliens. You have to drink a few of them.
So did you get anything else? So the UFO is there?
I did.
Like
but
an IPA.
Let me just tell you a little bit more about this one. It's the flavor I got is it's called Abracadabra. Sorry, Abracadabra. It's got like
Apricot.
It's a wheat beer. Which I like because I'm not too much into the hoppy flavors,
Yep.
So it's a wheat beer, and it's got like a slight hint of apricot flavor to it, which is really good. Actually, I just took a sip.
Huh.
Ta-da!
What's the alcohol percentage on that? Is it like
Let me
25%?
actually.
6. I'm gonna guess 6.
Drum rolling.
What does it say? Oh, 4.8%.
Low.
That's pretty low, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a sipping beer.
I've heard of UFO. I don't drink a ton of beer, so
Neither do I. I mean, I don't drink that much anymore either, but it's pretty good actually. It's nice and refreshing. It's hot outside. We got
Day.
the breeze coming in through the window here.
yeah. Here, that sounds like there's
Yeah.
some police going on there
Some
too.
ambulances
Pay
happening.
no attention to that.
Chris, get down!
So Chris and Joanna are down in the city in New York
We're
City.
talking to them straight from the Bronx.
Actually, yeah, in the Bronx, right?
Boogie!
I'm guessing that's
Boogie Bronx.
where you guys are right now.
Boogie down in
Boogie
Chris's
down.
little room.
Boogie down up there.
So, what else did you get there, Chris? You got the UFO and
I got another thing. I'll when I finish this one, I'll tell you what. the
You'll
other
crack
one is,
that one
but
up. Okay.
I'll keep your listeners in suspense.
So this
Whoa.
is so he's drinking in the UFO right now. Is that the one?
yeah. I'm
So
drinking the UFO
let's
right now.
talk
hold
about.
on. So let's talk about what we're drinking now.
Oh,
So I've got a little Embark cider here, some Dreamsicle cider, Field of Dreams. It's like a hopped cider fermented with milk sugar and blended with strawberries, blackberries, and white
that's
peaches.
hopped.
Yeah,
I didn't taste the hop in there. Is it?
it's like very light.
Is
in the
this
back.
super sweet?
No, it's not. It's actually on the drier side.
Okay,
kinda.
now that you said it, and now I taste it, but the first time I took a sip of it, it tasted like a sour to me.
It's good, right? Yeah. There is some debate online about whether or not
You can
adding other
milk.
fruits and stuff to a cider.
And this one is
Can
fermented
it
with
be a cider?
milk.
Yeah,
with
it's still
sugar.
considered a cider, but I'm not a purist by any means. I think if it's made with apples in general,
Yeah.
it's.
I
it's
do
a
like.
cider.
I know you guys. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about Mullers.
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You guys have some of the pear, pear ciders.
We do.
Those are
Yeah,
good.
I like those a lot.
Yeah, I really dig a good pear cider, especially like the French stuff is super dry and kind of champagne like. Those are great. I don't know if you've tried a French pear. Did we break open a bottle last time you were upstate?
I think we might have. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what we ended
I don't
up.
remember.
We
what
had
it
at
was.
least it in a flight or something from Muller's.
All right, so and then we'll get on to what Sarah's drinking there in
Okay,
a
so
second
I
too.
had Clean Slate, but I drank that already. So mine's my
What
A
is
whole
Clean
bottle.
Slate?
Clean Slate is a German Riesling that it's actually really
Oh.
delicious. And then this one, this is a rosé, a French rosé that I saw and I picked it up because I liked the bottle with the crest on the front of it.
It is. But what is it? What does it say? Bella.
Belle Rouge.
Bella,
And it says-
how do you say?
Côtes du Roche. I don't even know
That
if
was
I'm saying
that was a
that.
terrible
Cote
French
Roche?
Sorry.
accent, Sarah.
Is that
Chapatois.
Perfect. Perfect. All right, so let's get into a little bit more about Joanna. Let's get deeper into Joanna's life
Excuse me?
here.
Get deep in me.
So
Ew.
one thing I remember talking about, Joe, with you was you
scared
were
of what's
taking
about to
an improv class at some point.
I did that. I
Are-
sure did that.
Are you still taking an improv class?
No, I'm not. Well,
At
maybe
this-
life is an improv class, but I don't actually pay anyone to do it. But that was several years ago, and I remember it was 2011 because I remember the color of my hair. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I made it to level 1.
To level 1? So
Is it like karate belts?
Yeah, it is actually. It is kind of like that. You tie one on.
what? Yeah, what do you have to do
You
to
get your
make it
cord from capoeira.
to make it to level 1?
I know. I was like breaking
Breaking boards
imaginary
with your
bricks.
words.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. Let's see. There was actually. It's funny because there's a level 0, so I did move up one little notch there.
Wait, did you had to be graded?
No, not at all. We just go. You just show up. They teach you like certain things about how to like get along with the people in the room, kind of thing. And then like at the end of level 1 through 6, you put on a show, and so that's like all for everyone, and that was intense. class and a lot of fun.
So it's an improv show, and I'm guessing there's like an audience, right? It's not just like in front
Yeah,
of the
really big
instructor.
audience. Yeah.
And
But
what?
my teacher, we used to go out after class and get drunk and then like just go on stage and experiment a little bit.
Right.
And that was good.
So
good
what
fun.
for the like big, the big main performance? Was it something where you just kind of had a topic and then everyone had to improv when they, like all together, and you were interacting with each other, right? Obviously, or was it individualized?
No,
So-
it was more.
Do you remember at all what it ended up being?
I do actually. I remember the first one, and I remember this well because I actually had really, really bad, like, without getting graphic, I had IBS.
Okay. Was that from nerves?
It could
No,
have been.
no, no. I know. I mean, I had it in life. Like, I was just always walking around having to poop, and so
Okay.
they threw out. So it's like, you come up and you say, "Okay, can I get a word from the audience?" And the word was diarrhea, and I was like, "I got this one."
Wait, can you just repeat? Wait, I'm gonna just for our audience listening here, I want to make sure we get the story clear.
She, in
Of
her
course, yeah.
general
Hold on, let me-
day-to-day life,
hold on, let me-
had IBS.
Right.
Yeah, I had like some serious
And what
like
for those listening that don't know what IBS potentially stands
it's
for?
like
Irritable
lots of, like,
bowel
gas.
syndrome.
Yeah,
irritable bowel
syndrome. So
So
it's not.
This
It's
conversation has gone
overactive.
off into
it has. So
Overactive in many
and then
bad
so
ways.
you get on stage and you've got your irritable bowel syndrome
Yeah.
acting up, possibly flaring
And
up.
her improv
Wait.
class would throw a word at you, and you would have to start the improv based upon that word.
And what was that word
Right.
again, Joanna?
It was diarrhea.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Of all
So-
the words in the English language,
It is an
Yes.
it is an interesting word to choose as like the teacher of the class to say
no,
this is.
this wasn't the teacher. This is the class. This was.
do
the
you
show.
think the
Hold on, wait. So the audience gave it
Yes.
to you?
classmates?
I gotcha.
No, not the classmates. My classmates and I were on
Oh,
stage.
so people that
This is the
didn't
show
know
at
your
the end where
history.
we got like all the people that were in the improv, their family and their friends and stuff, got to see them do a performance. So that it was one of the people in the audience that yelled.
you say, "Okay, can I
So
get a
it
word from the
wasn't-
audience, please?" And their word was diarrhea, and I was like, "I got this one, you guys." So I like stepped out and started my thing, and I don't even know what happened. It was really fun. I don't remember.
And when you say started your thing,
It wasn't
Like
the
I just
diarrhea, was
jumped
it?
out and was like, I looked like I was holding my bottom, and I was like, oh no, I gotta find a place to go, and which is like so my life. And then
that's pretty
Yeah.
funny. So
And then-
Chris? Were you in the audience?
Oh yeah, of course.
Were
yeah,
you?
he was there.
You weren't the one that said the word, were you?
Yeah, because I feel like
No, we
that
put
was
him
a
like a
setup.
plant.
It was a setup.
That would have been perfect if
We weren't that clever to set it up before.
So for those just tuning in and possibly immediately tuning out, we have Joanna and Christopher Jaouen in from the Bronx. Chris is has a master's in mathematics, and Joanna is a licensed massage therapist, and as we were just talking about, studied improv for a bit. And you're listening to 100.9 WXIR Extreme Independent Radio here in Rochester, New York. So what made you, was it just, you had done one class, it was fun and you were done with it, or was it something where you felt like, I don't really need to pursue it? Like, I know you said you stopped at level 1. What prevented you from going to level 2?
I do try a lot of things, and I usually try them twice and then never do them again.
That sounds kind of like stuff I would do too.
Really? Yeah, you do everything.
Just dabble a little bit.
Speaking of which, I really like this podcast thing that you guys are doing. I listen to it. It's one of the podcasts I listen to on my way to work nowadays since you guys started doing it.
Oh, really?
Oh,
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, we started. So originally we weren't doing it and continuing it into a podcast, but the interviews ended up getting so long, and you know what we're doing here on the radio that people are listening to via the FM broadcast. You know, we have music involved in it as well, but the podcast really we get to go a little deeper into the interviews, and we just found as we went on, the guests were so interesting that it's
the
like
interviews
it
just
naturally went on for an hour and a half. You know, and probably we could go longer on some of these interviews. But I appreciate that, man, because you know, I think that radio needs to kind of take some hints from what's going on in the podcast world. You know,
I agree.
Oh, sure.
yeah, with that long form podcast. So what are some of the podcasts that you listen to other than obviously Infiltrate Radio?
Oh, other podcasts. I like. Do you listen to Adam Savage on Tested?
I have not.
He's
I did.
the one from Mythbusters.
Yeah, the one from Mythbusters.
Oh, I didn't know he had a podcast.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't
it's
even
really cool.
realize
You
he
should
had
check it out.
Huh.
It's him and two of the other guys from the YouTube or the website, I guess that they're on now.
I think
it's called Tested.
Yeah, I think I've seen he has some sort of YouTube show too, where he builds stuff like in one day or whatever, like
Yeah, that's the same YouTube channel.
stuff from movies. Oh, that's awesome! I might have to check that out.
Yeah, if you like, are you a fan? You guys are a fan of Mythbusters, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh yeah, I love that show. Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll love this. He talks about all kinds of things like movies.
Yeah, he's got a really interesting job. It's funny how they kind of got into that show too, where they were like I don't know how you
they're
get
just
into
like
that.
engineers.
Yeah, they were just building random stuff because I do a little bit with films as well, or films with film, and there's always like a need for things to be made that don't exist. So it's interesting that that's what their job was before they started doing that, and they ended up turning it into a show. And just watching them come up with things like that on the fly is
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really inspiring too to see someone so interested in building things and
he's really
just being creative and
he's really intense too. I don't know if you watch the actual YouTube
and
shows.
learning too.
He's really into it.
He's a big influence on people getting interested in science and things like that.
Yeah. So and that's something I know you're super into, and your master's in mathematics is something that's equally interesting because that lends itself to science too. So like what got you into math? Because I know you had taken years off from finishing college or going to college and getting any kind of degree there, right?
Right.
And you ended up going back. Well,
A
couple
of
years. I took like a decade off.
Well, obviously, so something
Just a brief pause.
something caused you to go back, and then of all things, I mean, mathematics is a pretty intense,
He's a math
major
man.
subject. Yeah, a lot of people are intimidated by mathematics.
Well, it's not like it's not like I don't know, building websites or going specifically for like even a medical degree, like towards a specific
Right.
job. I mean, mathematics is almost like
Kind of an abstract
it's a
thing.
pure
It's kind of like a
intellectual.
language right.
So what kind of got you into doing that and then going back to school and actually getting a master's in it?
When I went back to school, actually, it wasn't going to be for mathematics. I got very interested in astronomy, so I wanted to study astronomy. And before I had, I'd gone to school 10 years before that for music, and I ended up just losing interest in going to school for it anyway. But when I went back, it's because I had this. I tend to when I get interested in something, it starts to become like an obsession for me.
Right.
I think you're kind of maybe a little bit the same way.
Okay.
Yes, he is. Yep.
But so I got very much into astronomy, and I was taking all these physics and chemistry classes and like other science classes so that I could study to become an astronomer.
Right.
But the more science classes I took, obviously I had to take math classes along with those because you can't understand science without mathematics.
Yeah, definitely not physics.
Right, exactly. So the more of those classes I took, the more I started falling in love with just the pure math part. And eventually the science just dropped away, and I put all my energy fully into studying mathematics, which I fell in love with.
So it's those are interesting topics to jump from too, because first you went and you were studying music, and you were pretty technical because you play guitar, right? So you're pretty technical, and you like to obsess over certain. I remember this from when I was a kid about certain like solos and learning scales and sweep
Music
picking.
and math are very similar, though.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
So,
There's a lot of mathematics behind music. Speaking of which, just if you want to see some of the connections between math and music, I think Adam Neely. Are you familiar with Adam Neely on YouTube?
I'm not. How do you
You
spell
should
that?
check him out. He has a talk about that's. I think I forget what the talk is. I'm sorry. I should have looked it up beforehand. Maybe.
What? How do you spell his last name?
It's Neely, and his first name is Adam.
Okay.
He has a lecture that you can find on I watch a lot of YouTube, so
Yeah.
that you can find on YouTube about the mathematics behind music, which is I found really interesting.
So
Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, so the jump from music to astronomy, right? And then with the physics and
There's music
chemistry.
and astronomy too. The music of the spheres, right?
Yeah. Well, there's also, I mean, you get into like astrophysics, and you get into, even physics like quantum theory and string theory and all that kind of stuff.
That's way beyond my.
Right. But had you gone down that road, I think that would definitely have ties back into music as well. So, just for those just tuning in here, so we've got Christopher and Joanna, Joanne on the show today. And you're listening to 100.9 WXIR Extreme Independent Radio here in Rochester, New York. So the jump from, all right, so you did music, you kind of dropped away, and I think that's probably the same reason I never turned or wanted to turn music into a profession. Once you start, I don't know, making it a
job,
like a career or
like
a job almost, and the same goes for school. It kind of loses its luster, if you will. Or
everything's kind of like that. The moment that you're sort of forced to do something, it automatically loses some of its luster, I think.
And then, so you made the jump. Then you obviously you had bands back in the day, and you played music, and you obviously still play music. And you went into the astronomy, and then jumped to the mathematics part of it. That intimidation factor of mathematics, and I mean, what would you say to people that maybe would look at a mathematics major or look at getting a master's in mathematics as to, I guess, why, right? Like what is the
why
attraction?
would you get it?
What is the attraction to it? Like obviously you have
Do more math.
like let me flesh that out a little bit more. So music, the reason I don't want to make it a career is because I have an emotional attachment to music, and while there's theory and there's mathematics to music, right? Or there's emotion to music, I don't want to make a career, and I don't want to lose the emotion behind it. I'm assuming that there's some sort of that emotional connection between
very much so,
the way you feel with mathematics.
It's the kind of thing like if you like solving puzzles, like the feeling that you get when you correctly solve a puzzle, like something that's very challenging, and you're able to figure it out or to finish it.
Sure.
There's that aspect to it. So if you figure out the relationship between something and something else, that's very satisfying. And the level of mathematics that I've reached, it's not like I've done research or like that I've discovered anything new.
He's not got his PhD yet.
But the just the mathematics in general is fun to do. Like when you my master's was in pure mathematics, so studying the theory, doing proofs and things like that.
Yeah. So
and
you're saying,
you like,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Brothers.
So if you like solving puzzles, and if you like seeing like surprising relationships between things, then mathematics might be something to explore.
Yeah. So one of the things that I used to like about, or I think why mathematics is supremely important, even though some people say, okay, as soon as I get out of school, I'm never going to use this math again.
I stopped doing math in school.
And things like that is because they don't understand what it is that mathematics is actually trying to teach you. So it's actually trying to establish a way of thinking about things so that your synapses will form in a way to be able to solve problems, and not just mathematical problems, but logically
it's
think.
Not, mathematics is not a set. I mean, you have techniques, and you have algorithms, and you have definitions and formulas and stuff for that. That's a part of mathematics. But you can think of mathematics as a verb as well. It's the process of doing mathematics, thinking mathematically, using logic to solve problems, right? Things that that you may not have thought of before. It's not a set list of formulas or things like that.
Yeah, it's not like, so I think that the approach that maybe turns people off to math in schools is the way that it's taught. And the way that it's taught a lot of times is memorize this formula so that you can figure out the answer to the problem on the test.
Sure.
And I think the problem with doing that is that people don't understand why they need to pass a math class, right? Because the point isn't to necessarily have a child or a student in school necessarily learn how to memorize a formula so that they can solve a particular type of problem when they get into the real world, and I'm doing air quotes.
Right.
But it's to teach them a way of thinking. Go from.
I heard a good analogy from someone recently. I forget where I heard it from. Unfortunately,
all right, so before you get to that analogy, if you want to hear the rest of the interview, you can download the podcast at Infiltrate Radio Podcast on any of your favorite podcast mechanisms. And coming up next here on the radio show, we're going to play you some more music.
Whee!
All right, so now we're in podcast mode. So we're allowed to curse here,
Yes.
Chris.
Back to
What? I wasn't
reality.
supposed to be cursing yet?
Back to reality.
So luckily you didn't. Neither of you did. You did say diarrhea, Joe. So
Diarrhea is not an FCC word. It's okay. If that's an actual bodily
on a different
function, it's a medical term.
yeah. So So the analogy, Chris.
So you think about like an athlete, right? Someone maybe like a football player, right? They lift weights not because it helps them specifically with doing any particular thing on the football field, but it makes them stronger, right? And it makes their body able to do play the game of football, for example.
Right.
Right. You can think of mathematics in the same way. It's you may not necessarily use any particular instance of a formula or something that you learned in your high school geometry class or something, but it's training your brain to think in a certain type of way that applies broadly to a bunch of different problem-solving areas.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that's I think where probably some of the passion, right, that you get for it comes from, is being able to expand. That way of thinking.
Rationally, thinking logically. It helps in your life, solving problems.
Yeah, and I think too, it's any kind of muscle building, like a practice where you continually practice this thing and you see progress happen. I think ultimately
satisfying.
leads to satisfaction in some way, whether that be exercising or you're practicing.
And self-esteem too. You feel when you conquer something hard, it makes you feel good.
Yeah, which is kind of like Joanna. I'm sure the improv thing at some point was kind of nerve-wracking to get up there and just not have any idea what you were going to perform up there, right? And it was probably something you didn't feel 100% confident in. But after you did the entire
that's the amazing
performance
thing
about diarrhea, it was.
Oh, you want to get into it?
No, but
No.
So, but what I'm saying is that ultimately it was satisfying. Like afterwards, you felt.
To get into it.
No, I mean, well, shit, man.
But you felt like good about it because it's almost like you took it from point A to point to the end point of that what would be called exercise of that improv, because they even say like improv is a muscle, like when you're doing it, it's something that you have to learn to do. So, Joanna,
Patrick.
this massage therapy thing. So, you have to have not only some doctor-patient, probably
Yeah.
privacy things,
Confidentiality.
Are you finished already?
confidentiality, right? But one of the questions I've asked of some people that have come on, like for instance, we had Paulie G here from the Brother Wee show. I asked him because he basically sells his own sauce. So I asked him like, what was your did you ever break bottles of sauce somewhere?
What?
In his car, because I had spilled a whole bunch of cider in my car at one point, right? So with regards to massage therapy, there's got to be some stories that you have without breaking patient well, at this point we're on podcast
That's true.
mode, but
No, I know for a fact that she's shared stories with me.
so do you have anything maybe you can share without breaking that confidentiality, maybe that even you did, or
Oh gosh, where to begin? Where do you begin on something like that? There's so many things, right?
Let's
Sarah,
start-
do you have any good recommendations?
I know maybe not the last time or a couple of times before when we got together, there's individuals that will go in to get a massage and think it's a massage and extra.
Oh yeah.
So that's
So-
always an awkward, no, that's not why I'm here.
Yeah. So
You're close back.
and you probably have a good way at this point of dealing with that, because I'm sure that's something that
Yeah.
comes up often. So like, how do you
I just yanked their dick right off.
I know this is a podcast, but I think we just took it
took it
beyond
a little
even
too
where
far.
podcasts are allowed to go, Joanna.
Well, I mean, I'm about to, talk about weird shit. So. There's some people out there that came in with the wrong idea, and I had to literally just set them straight. What are you gonna do? So, and I think the latest guy was like, "Can I uncover it?" That's what he said to me.
It
Yeah.
should have been like, what? It? What is
Uncover
that?
it? What's it? What is
No,
it? So
no, you can't.
yeah. So he said, "Oh no, you don't have to touch it. I want to feel the breeze.
What breeze?
The breeze between us. The breeze between
The
us."
breeze between you and I.
Breeze. Man.
No, this is terrible.
I would never, ever say that to another person. Ever.
Oh God,
It's
there's some really creepy and grimy peeps out there.
so here's something I have to ask, because we did get into the bodily functions
yes.
discussion earlier. Has anyone ever, and I'm going to use the proper term,
Bodily function?
flatulated?
Oh, the farting?
Did that? Is that something that occurs?
I don't do that. That's for bad people.
The bad people. Bad people fart. Remember that.
So
During
is
a
that
massage?
is that something that occurs often?
I would prefer that over the, can I air it out?
Cover it out. Yeah. Yeah. No. I've definitely been around farting, and I've definitely farted myself. Like, I mean, sometimes.
Hold on. So during.
She had IBS. Remember the conversation we had before?
I love how this conversation is totally a full circle between shit, and farting. Like this, I did, and I was gonna rip it off anyway. No, I mean, everyone has these, like, everyone
sure.
kind of burps and everyone farts. Like, I've been lucky enough to have some good clients that are like, I'm about to rip one right now, and so I get out of there.
Let's talk about this. So I guess for those people listening too, because a lot of people get massages, obviously, right?
Oh yeah.
Massage etiquette.
Yeah. So like, what would be appropriate massage etiquette? I guess we can start with the level of clothing, right?
Okay.
That is.
So I always tell people, as I leave the room, you can get undressed. You can leave your underwear on or off. That's up to your comfort level. It doesn't really matter. You're going to be covered the whole time. And then leave the room. And when I come back, they're under the sheet, and I don't know whether they have underwear on or not. It doesn't matter to me.
Gotcha.
Some people are more comfortable with their little underwears. Some people are more comfortable open. It doesn't really matter because as I work on a body part, I uncover it and then I recover it. So it's like nothing's going to be hanging out.
Sure. So what about, I know there's a big divide between those who like to have conversation
Right.
versus those that don't have conversation during the massage, right? Is there a preference on your part as the massage therapist? And if you confer with other massage therapists, is there probably a consensus on?
There's like a lot of people. There's a lot of people that will say, I don't even like talking to the clients. And a lot of people saying like, oh my God, I'm so bored if I'm not talking to them. So, and then everything in between. So I think for me, it's like what the person kind of wants. And also if they come in with like an issue, like, oh, I slept wrong last night, my neck is hurting me, whatever. And I'm working on a specific issue and I'm really paying attention to what I'm doing. It's a little better to just kind of, shut my mouth a little bit and work on what I'm working with. But
or maybe just
I
ask like what's going on with it, or
I mean, as you go, right? Like, okay, well, how does that feel? Like, how are you doing so far? And checking in from time to time. But like for the most part, yeah,
I'm asking for all those individuals out there, especially probably guys who have girl masseuses. It's very especially in these days, it can probably get iffy as to like what your responses to a massage. So like if you're working on a particular part of the body, right? And there's an outburst of some form, or do you prefer there to be feedback on like, yes, stay there? Or like, what is your thoughts on feedback during?
Well, if someone's paying for a massage and they're hitting a part that you really need done, like your shoulder's all messed up, you should be able to
say it.
Right. I actually prefer it just to be quiet because there's so much sound going on all the time. But it depends. Like, sorry, go ahead. I just hope that it doesn't make the massage therapist feel awkward because I'm totally fine with silence, but some people aren't.
Oh, I think you can sort of tell who wants to just relax, and 100% relax, meaning shut up, go in their own space, like just feel the massage, be there with the breath and be there. There's people like that and you can tell right away, and I don't have a problem with that. And if I'm in a good mood, I'll give you the best fucking massage you've ever had. It's so relaxing. You're gonna, if I'm in the right mood.
Drooling, that whole thing.
Yep.
There's definitely drooling.
What would you prefer? I know there's like the extreme instances of people being just not appropriate, but like what would you say your biggest pet peeve or what you'd like potential patients, not anyone you've had so far, 'cause all your patients have been 100% fantastic.
Exactly. All of them except for just this one guy I'm about to blast.
So what would you give as like a your number one pet peeve maybe when you're working?
I'll be honest, and it's not a personality trait. It's a man with a lot of back hair. And it is disgusting. Sweaty. And I look and I shake my fist at the ceiling when I come in and it's a new person and they're face down and the sheet is not fully covering their back and I can see that they have a carpet.
So it looks as though the sheet is still there,
it's a rug.
but it's not there. It looks like there's a wool blanket.
It's appalling. It's absolutely.
So to all those gentlemen out there,
shave your back.
Yeah,
there's got to be some kind of
there's
grooming,
waxing products. There's laser hair removal out there.
Yeah, get that taken care of.
Yeah, if anyone wants to sponsor the show, we'll be happy to.
Rogaine.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. That's hair. Wait a minute.
Laser hair removal. We're down.
We're looking for you sponsors.
One thing I noticed as Joanna was talking, it kind of sounded like Chris walked away and potentially went to the refrigerator.
I had to answer the mystery of what the second beer is.
Oh yeah, what is it? We want to know.
Yeah, so now we're in.
Yeah, sure. So it's this one is Blue Point. Have you heard of them before?
Mm-mm.
I haven't had anything by them before either. But I think it's another wheat beer. It's blueberry ale. So blueberry is one of my favorite fruits, so that right away caught my eye. and this one is also 4.5% alcohol. It's really nice too.
Where is it made? Does it say?
Let's see, Patchogue, New York.
Oh, it's in New York. Where was the other one? The
Where was that one made?
yeah, the
UFO?
apricot wheat one, the UFO.
Yeah, let me see. This one. Sorry for the dead air. Hang on.
Dead air.
Doesn't say on.
It's got a say on there somewhere.
It's here, Boston.
Oh, Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh, Boston.
And Vermont.
I'm sure
There's
people.
two of them.
I'm almost 100% positive that UFO is a pretty big,
Is it?
not a giant beer producer, but a pretty popular.
I was looking on their website before when I got it, and they have a
Craft.
lot of interesting looking beers, wheat beers mainly.
Where'd you get it? Did you get it from somewhere like a beer?
I just got it from the local food town.
Oh,
Oh, excellent.
go Bronx!
So yeah, so that's something I wanted to get into too. So, me and Chris and you too, Joanna. I mean, we grew up in the heart of not in the heart of New York City, but in the boroughs and outlying areas of New York City. So Sarah and I moved out, and we're now in Rochester, New York. But you guys are still down in the Bronx. So there's been a lot of changes in terms of the areas, like especially Astoria. I don't know about Jackson Heights as much, but like Astoria, Queens.
LIC is like a completely different neighborhood
That's crazy.
than when we grew up.
I mean, Brooklyn, just as we were leaving, that was starting to kind of change into probably what it is and has been now for the last 10 years, like the super hipster kind of area. Are you starting to see that in the Bronx as well, where there's...
Moving in.
Yeah.
I think South Bronx nowadays is getting. I think it's anything that's like as close as you can get to Manhattan without being in Manhattan, and that's Williamsburg and that's Astoria, Long Island City. You know, there's all the places where you're like right next to Manhattan, but not quite. So South Bronx now is like that, and it's creeping up.
So are there like little cafes and bars and
Yeah.
people making art projects where you're just completely silent throughout the whole experience, that sort of thing going on there? Have you noticed anything different? I mean, you guys are have been living there the whole time, so sometimes it's difficult to kind of see the change as you're, you know.
Yeah, because it happens very gradually. But
Yeah, when
Yeah.
you're there, but every time I go back, there's such a difference in
Crazy.
in the way that certain areas just feel and just what's there.
well, certainly you feel it in your pocketbook.
Yeah, that's why we're in the Bronx.
That's true. Well, yeah, people, I mean, that have been living there their whole lives are moving further and further out from, from the city, it seems like, and then people are kind of transplanting themselves into into the Bronx, into Queens, into Brooklyn. So it's interesting. So what are you guys' feelings on that? I mean, do you think that's a positive thing?
Chris?
Is it a positive thing that it's getting
So-
more expensive here? And that
I guess, yeah. I mean, it would be the concept of gentrification, right? Is essentially what it is.
There's good things and bad things about it. I think
It's a
it's
mixed
getting
bag.
harder and harder for middle class and poorer people to get by in the city. And just for this functioning of the city, I think that's not a good thing.
And there's all these high rises going up everywhere, and it's like, where are all those people? I mean, there's already jillion people out on the streets. Like, where are all these people going to live? You know what I
Where
mean?
they're gonna walk. So
I just don't. Yeah.
yeah, I
And
mean,
and like areas, getting a little bit more gentrified and having like more police activity or less police activity, depending on that. And I think people being displaced. It's weird because I want cafes and I want like art everywhere, but I also really love like not paying an arm and a leg and having our little sanctuary away from it.
yeah. Do you think that has an effect on the soul of the city. So like, for instance, what I remember a lot, and especially like the 70s into the 80s in New York City, was super like
It was seedy.
yeah, it was real dangerous. But that's kind of where a lot of real artists kind of come up from. Like if they're in those areas where it's just terrible, and you run into other terrible people, and there's nothing, if you make happy-go-lucky art, everything's just sunflowers all the time, and you draw pictures of suns and clouds with smiley faces on them. Like, I don't think that's necessarily like deep art, right? And I think that in my opinion, maybe some of that is being taken out of New York City by this gentrification, if you want to call it that, of it, or some people just call it, I don't know, making the areas better or whatever. Do you feel the same way?
I feel like there's still art that's worth seeing, and especially in the places where there are younger people. Even with the gentrification, like you're saying, I mean, younger people have a vivacity, I guess, or there's creativity there, there's passion. I don't necessarily think it has to come from a place of need, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So
I think people that it just ends up that there's so many more people that are not well off, that if you're a creative person, you're a creative person.
Right. So,
and that stuff resonates with a lot of people, because a lot more people are in that, I guess, boat.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So I've been out of the city for almost a little over 10 years now. So things have obviously changed, and some of the places I loved when I was there are either no longer exist, or they're not the now empty shell of what they used to be, right? Is there anything that's popped up recently or anything? So if someone was going to visit New York City, because we got people listening in Sweden and the UK, and I'm sure they go on vacation to New York City. Is there any specific like things as a native New Yorker living in the Bronx that you would say is like a hidden treasure that maybe if someone was visiting, instead of going to the Times Squares and the statues of liberties and so forth, maybe like a food place or...
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Well, the Museum of the Moving Image is still really
That's
great.
exactly what I was going to say. The Museum of the Moving Image is one of my favorite places on earth.
Yeah.
And so that's in...
That's in Astoria.
That's in Astoria.
Oh, I love that place.
Yeah.
So what's cool about that place?
Oh, man. Well, I don't know if you remember, years and years ago, they used to have an entire floor dedicated to old arcade cabinets.
Yep.
Like video games. And for a long time, that wasn't there anymore. I had a birthday party when I was really young, which is one of my favorite birthday parties. Where
I remember that.
Our parents rented out that whole floor, and I had like a bunch of friends, and we were able to just play all the video games. But they just put that back in there on the top floor.
Oh, nice.
You can play them, and it's cheap. It's like regular, what it used to be
quarter.
in the 80s, like a quarter per play.
Oh, that's really
and
cool.
All vintage arcade cabinets and stuff. They play. They have old movies that they play there all the time. I just saw the original Alien on the big screen there a while back. 2001: A Space Odyssey, Tron. They played there recently.
They played Tron there.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
And not only that, they have the exhibits that they have there are great. They have like props from old movies and old toys and all kinds of interesting stuff, movie memorabilia if you're into movies.
Yeah, and that's on Broadway, right? In Astoria.
It's on
It's 34th.
Oh, that's right, 34th Avenue.
34th Avenue.
34th and 35th, I forget.
In Astoria. So
In Astoria, yeah.
that's
It's right by Steinway Street.
Yeah, I personally know that, but I think, like I said, I just wanted to kind of, give out some hidden gems of one of the other things.
Speaking of which, I don't want to forget. Also, they have the Jim Henson exhibit there now. That's there, I think, permanently.
Yeah, they said it's permanent.
So, what does that entail?
They've got all the puppets from Sesame Street and
The Dark Crystal.
The major Jim Henson things.
All the Muppets.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's great.
It's really cool. Yeah, if you ever are in Astoria, you should check that out.
Is there are there like food places around there that are decent too? So like if you were going down
there's
there,
plenty of great places to
There's
eat in Astoria.
a million places, and but they're all changing too. Like they're all moving around and changing as well. So I don't even know.
Yeah. So I know you're in the Bronx there. If someone was to come out, have you explored a lot of the Bronx? Like what
So
would,
there's Arthur Avenue, which is definitely, it's like 15 minutes from us by car.
is
So,
that Arthur
Yeah,
Avenue?
Arthur Ave, and that's where all the old school Italian restaurants are. There's like a few big ones.
What one in particular? You have a name of one that in particular you can recommend?
Do you remember any of the names?
I don't remember. Unfortunately, I don't remember any of them.
Yeah.
So there's a whole like strip though along that Arthur Avenue in the Bronx.
Two block radius.
It's all like authentic Italian.
Really yummy shit.
Yeah,
I
'cause
can't remember.
I feel like the Bronx is an underexplored area when people come down to the city. Like they'll go somewhat into like Queens, somewhat into Brooklyn for like the Williamsburg type areas, but mostly they stay in the city. But like if you wanted to go into the Bronx, like so good Italian food there. What about Brooklyn? Do you have any recommendations on?
Well, the David Bowie exhibit's happening now too at the Brooklyn Museum.
Ooh.
The Brooklyn Museum, you said?
Yeah.
The David
It's
Bowie
it's adjacent
exhibit.
to the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens. So you could hit both of those.
Huh. And so what do they have? Do they have just like his sweaty outfits in there? Or like
Yes.
what?
We lick them. No. I haven't been yet. I've just heard good things.
Huh.
We go to the botanical gardens around
yeah.
here all the time. Also, if you
In
haven't
the
been
Bronx?
there.
Oh, that's definitely a highlight. I mean, we have a membership. We go there several times a year because it's just amazing what they do to the inside of the conservatory. There's like
So what
special
is it
nights.
exactly? So it's like a
They have a show going on now. What's the artist's name?
Georgia O'Keeffe.
Georgia O'Keeffe. It's that's
It's a Hawaiian.
It's like Hawaiian theme. I guess there's like a bunch of poems and
Yeah, there's poems and like, I guess Hawaiian plants
music and like Hawaiian
pineapples.
plants. Yeah, that was cool seeing like
Little
all the
pineapples.
the really colorful Hawaiian plants and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. So, what about? So I know Manhattan. For those who grew up in the boroughs, Manhattan is like, yeah, you go there, but everything good's out in the boroughs. So, do you have any recommendations?
Except for Kube.
Right.
Well,
Oh,
I mean,
that's true.
you of course you got Central Park. You got the Metropolitan Museum of Art. You got the Natural History Museum. You got the MoMA.
Yeah, all those are great places.
Staples.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Dave's restaurant Kube too is a pretty.
Oh sure. Oh, he's
that's
got
just
stuff down there.
so
Yeah.
good.
Where is that located again? I don't have the address here in front of me.
It's on 11th Street and 6th Ave.
11th and 6th, so it's great. So he's like, it's almost like I don't want to say
outside
Mediterranean.
Union
It's
Square.
Middle Eastern Israeli food.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah,
good.
it's
So good.
And I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but Kube is a dumpling that's filled with either like vegetables or meat or different types of fillings, and then it's put into like a broth of some sort.
It's delicious.
And you can pick the different
So
types
good.
of broth.
Yeah,
So
the last time I went down there, I had the beet soup one.
it's delicious.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
The address is 464 6th Avenue.
There you go. So Dave, we're gonna have you on the show too.
Yeah.
at some
Oh
point.
yeah, you should definitely
that
get
food is.
the show. Yeah.
I dream about it.
I love it. Yeah, some days,
Literally, I'm like, oh,
some
I
days
know.
we think about it and we're like, oh man, I wish it
so
was.
delicious.
It wasn't 7 hours away to drive there. You know what I wanted to ask you
They don't
guys?
deliver to you guys?
No,
No.
not yet. Grubhub doesn't do 7-hour deliveries yet.
They should branch out though. Maybe they can expand to the Rochester area.
Have you guys visited? So one of the things I follow on Instagram is the Drunken Dumpling, and they always have these pictures of like the soup dumplings that are just the size of your head, and everyone's got straws in them. Have you guys been there yet?
No, that sounds interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were
They're
interested
like
in that.
giant soup dumplings. You know, they're served in
Is
the
this
steamer.
a restaurant?
Yep. So the have you had a soup dumpling before, Joanna?
Yeah, because I had it at Cuba.
Yeah.
Or Kubi.
No, it's a little different. So basically what a soup dumpling is, it is a they take pork typically and
Yeah.
like scallions, some seasoning or whatever, and then they'll also mix some gelatin in with it, like gelatinized, almost like a broth. So it solidifies when it's in the refrigerator or when it's cold, and then they'll wrap it in a like a wonton wrapper almost, right? And
Yeah.
they'll seal it up, then they steam it. What happens when you steam it is those little gelatinized cubes inside the, you know, the meat mixture inside melts during the cooking process. So when you eat it, you actually put it on a spoon and you bite a little piece of the bottom of it off, and the broth comes out. So you have, they call it a soup dumpling because the soup is actually inside of the dumpling.
Oh.
And so this place Drunken Dumpling, and I always comment on their stuff and they respond to me. They're like, you have to come out. You have to come out.
Next time you guys come down here to visit, we should go there.
Yeah, we should definitely go. But they literally have, because usually they're part of like a dim sum. And they'll come around. They're like tiny, you know, like regular size
you know
dumplings.
what we should do? Actually, we should do a dim sum day. Like go around to a bunch of dim sum places.
Oh yeah, absolutely should. But so they have those soup dumplings, but just enormous, the entire size of a bamboo steamer.
They're just
It's
gigantic.
Like just, and there's just a bunch of pictures on their Instagram of people with just straws in them, just drinking the. Around the table on this giant.
That sounds right up my alley.
It really does. I mean, hopefully they're good when we go there, because I mean, you're gonna get that much of it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's delicious, right? But so guys, I really want to thank you for being part of the.
Thank you guys for having us.
The test batch here of our remote interviews, and
we'll tell you if we die afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
We'll be doing a lot more of these remote
The radiation
soon too with some guests. I'm sorry about the satellite dish that we had to put in the
You were
middle
too busy asking if you could do it. You should have asked if you should have done it.
Sorry about the satellite dish sitting in your living room
Yeah. this is
blasting
crazy.
microwave radiation at your faces, but it's the only way we could do it. But I really appreciate you guys being on the show, and next time we go down, maybe we'll have a remote episode of Infiltrate
Absolutely.
Radio, because
We could do a travel episode.
Yeah, we could do it like
that sounds awesome.
Maybe we could do it inside of the Drunken Dumpling.
That would be amazing.
Come see us on the jump down.
So, or inside Kube either too. I'll
yep.
talk to Dave about that.
Even better.
But again, thank you guys, and
Thank you.
we'll talk to you in a bit. You are listening to 100.9 FM WXIR in Rochester, New York.
Extreme Independent Radio.
Worldwide, you can find us online at 1009wxir.com.
Infiltrate Radio.